Hey everyone, and welcome to Sketching with Sarah. I'm Sarah, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing the Blob Art Challenge. I've seen many art YouTubers do this challenge, and I've always wanted to try it, and now since I have a YouTube channel, why not? In my last YouTube video, I drew some of my animal hybrid creatures as Animal Crossing villagers, and I forced myself to be overly simplistic to keep that Animal Crossing style as much as possible. I really enjoyed doing that video, so I decided for today's video, I would start a series. For this series, I will be making random blobs by using the first row of my travel watercolor set to fill a page in my sketchbook. Then I'll look at each one of these blobs and try and kind of cloud gaze my way into coming up with an animal doodle made from each of the shapes while trying to be as simple as possible. And then I'm gonna pick a couple of those animal blobs and make a drawing of them interacting on a separate little square where I'll be using more of a mixed media process for it. So let's get right into it. So once I got started, I noticed right away that the watercolor set that I'm using in this video, it's really hard to get a flat wash of any of the colors. So it did turn out a little bit streaky, which kind of forced me to do a couple layers here and there to try and remedy that as best as I could. I've seen other YouTubers use Posca pens, which are these acrylic-filled paint pens, but since I don't have those, I'm doing the best that I can. Once I got all those blobs onto there, it was time to start imagining the animals in them. For this first one, since my brain has been drowning in Animal Crossing recently, and since my last YouTube video I was drawing those Animal Crossing villagers, I couldn't stop seeing an elephant villager in this blob. So I tried to challenge myself and figure out if I can make myself be able to see anything other than that in this shape. And then I started imagining what that little ear could be, and then I saw maybe it could be a beak. So I turned the little smile into a wing and the ear into a beak and made this really interesting bird blob with a long feather tail of some kind. So here he is. The second one, my eye immediately was drawn to that large circular shape in it. So I turned it into a cute snail. There's really nothing else to say about it. I struggled a little bit with these next two, so I decided to outline them first to see if something came out of that. And then I saw that hump as a dog knee maybe, so I turned him into this derpy dog on his back. I don't know, I think his other leg is probably somewhere on the other side, I don't know. I really tried to be super simple, and I felt like if I tried to add another leg, it would just, I would have a hard time. So I decided to leave him this way, and I guess you can kind of imagine it was maybe tucked behind on the other side, or the way that he's laying on it in some way. However you can make that work. For this next one, I kept seeing those 2 points at the bottom as legs and that lower hump as like a butt or something. So I was starting to imagine some kind of 2-legged animal strutting away from us. But in an effort to try and get that image out of my head, just to see what else I could come up with, I decided to outline it, and then I just saw those legs as like an open beak. So I turned that into a beak, and the rest of it just turned into an angry potato bird or something. I don't know. I kind of like how, because he's so simple, that attitude just comes out way more, and the exaggerated sizes of the shapes are also pretty comical to me. For this one, I immediately saw that little nub at the top as a tail of some kind, and those bottom 3 bits as 2 ears and a nose in the middle. So I tried to figure out how I could make this work to be some kind of laying dog that's looking up at you or something. So I was trying to figure out how to make that work. I ended up deciding to make those 2 side bits into his legs instead of ears, and I think it makes that overall cute lazy dog pose. And I gave him a huge snoot just to reel in that cuteness. Now with this one, I did struggle a little bit, only because of the left side, how there's those sharp angles into it that kind of threw me off a little bit from the other blobs. But once I outlined it, I started seeing it as a lion mane. So I made that part the lion mane, made the little lion head, and then the rest, I guess, is like a potato body of some kind. This one, I saw that long shape, and without a doubt, immediately thought elephant trunk and just went with it. So I made his face accordingly, and I think it turned out really cute. As simple and as exaggerated as the face is, I feel like it's still very elephant-like. For this next one, for some reason I saw a Pikachu scrunched up in there. Maybe it's the neon yellow that got that out of me somehow. So So I decided to try and turn that blob into some kind of cute rabbit, and I gave him these 2 giant legs and these huge paws. And overall, I think he's pretty cute. This one was automatically a snake to me. I didn't even want to try and be more creative than that, mostly because I just wanted to draw a derpy snake. For this one, I did start adding more and more detail, and I really had to force myself to stop working on this one. Otherwise, I would have just gone crazy with the scales and who knows what else. So I'm happy I stopped where I did. For this next blob, I saw the triangle shape as a beak immediately, and the rest just kind of melted into this really surprised looking bird. Last but not least, this big orange blob on the bottom of my page. I could not stop seeing a dog snout with like pointed ears or something at this angle. And I just could not shake that image from my head, and I didn't know what to do with that bottom portion. Like, if you can imagine the top point being the ear, like what would that bottom point be? I thought maybe a neck or something. So I just decided instead of trying to figure that out, I would just turn it over, rotate the page, and see what else I can come up with. And just that simple rotation, I immediately saw a penguin. So I made this really weird, squishy blob penguin. So there you have it. Here's the completed animalified blobs. As I was looking at these blob creatures I created, I thought the 2 that would work well together for a separate drawing would be the angry bird and the meh bird, the surprised looking one. I could just imagine the bird on the right not even being fazed at this angry bird swooping towards him, or maybe completely oblivious and just spacing out. And then this other bird twice his size just coming at him with the most angry expression. I thought it was pretty funny, so I decided to add those 2 to this drawing. I started with the watercolor base to fill out the page, and then I went in with colored pencil to refine the edges and add details to the characters. I kept it really simple to the point where it was almost painful to step away. I really wanted to continue to work on it and just push it even further, make it more and more realistic as I could with those shapes, but I'm really happy I did end up stepping away. I think a lot of artists like me can relate to that struggle of trying to figure out that balance of when you're ready to step away from the piece and be done with it, and when you're just overworking it to death. There's definitely a fine balance that can sometimes be harder to find than other times. I hope you guys enjoyed my Blob Art Challenge video. Next week I will be doing the second row of my watercolor pan and make some more blob animals to see what I can come up with. I've linked my social media, the supplies I used in this video, and links to other videos of mine you might like in the description below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and comment to let me know which of these blob animals was your favorite. And before I started drawing on any of them, did you see something completely different in any of these? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And yeah, here's a cute little sleeping puppy. Puppy, oh god. Okay.